The NFL in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Will Greg Hardy and Adrian Peterson play next weekend after being suspended for yesterday's games? One for domestic violence, the other for endangering his son.
Good afternoon. All eyes are on the NFL to see how it handles cases like these.
Now the NFL is turning to women for help. And these women will shape the NFL for the future. 4 women will work with the NFL to create the league's policies on domestic violence and sexual assaults. The group includes 3 domestic violence experts who will serve as senior advisors. The NFL's Vice President of Community Affairs and Philanthropy will now take on a new role of Vice President of Social Responsibility. The move comes after criticism over Commissioner Roger Goodell and the league's handling of domestic violence cases.
Meanwhile, the man who started the conversation, Ray Rice, is appealing his indefinite suspension from the NFL. Rice was given the suspension last week after video of him punching his then fiancée was released. According to several reports, Rice will argue that he told Goodell the truth when they met back in June. After that meeting, Rice was given a 2-game suspension. Rice will be represented by the NFL Players Association.
Carolina Panthers head coach Ron Rivera announced this afternoon defensive end Greg Hardy will not be suspended from the team and he will practice this week. Hardy was found guilty on domestic violence charges but is appealing that conviction. Rivera says he will evaluate the situation before deciding whether Hardy will be active for Sunday's game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hardy was suspended just hours before yesterday's game. Rivera says the changing climate within the NFL influenced that decision.
Minnesota Vikings running back Adrian Peterson says he's sorry and he never intended to hurt his son. Peterson released a statement this afternoon and the team announced he will practice this week. He is scheduled to play next Sunday against the New Orleans Saints. Peterson was deactivated for yesterday's game after he was indicted on child abuse charges Friday. Police say he spanked his son with a tree branch. The team released a statement saying the decision to reinstate him was made after significant thought, discussion, and consideration. Team owners say they will let the case go through the legal system, but will watch it closely. Well, this story is igniting a renewed debate about what's okay and what's not in terms of disciplining your child.
Adrian Peterson, according to his attorney, didn't think he was doing anything wrong, that he is just a loving dad who was disciplining his own son the way he was brought up. Shelley Rupas joins us now with more on this story.
Hey guys, as a mom and a dad, how do you discipline your kids? It is one of the things that parents talk about most often, especially when the kids are younger and they're just trying to figure it all out. This story, though, especially because of the pictures of the little boy's legs, it seems that people have really strong opinions about it.
He seems really sweet right now, but you know, there's times where, you know, he's not so sweet. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Paul Constantino is a dad of 2 young children. He gets that parenting is hard. He also is a huge sports fan. Adrian Peterson is on his fantasy football team.
You obviously really didn't see anything wrong with it. Would we do that? No, I would never do that.
From the pictures that I saw, it looked like there were marks and they were open wounds. To me, that looks like child abuse.
A lot of us are brought up that way, we're reared that way, and so it does, you know, call to a different way. That's why I say it takes skill, because if you don't have different skills, you're going to default to what you know.
Peterson's attorney says the star running back was just doling out discipline much like he experienced growing up.
I just hope with this particular situation that the child does not have long-term impact. So we're not talking about just the physical scars, but what are some other things that are going on with this little 2-year-old that has endured this spanking? So that's something else to consider as well.
Here in the Triad, Dr. Sabrina Cook-Davis works with a lot of parents on parenting issues. She says she doesn't judge parents for how they discipline, but just wants to help them figure out what works best.
Oftentimes we say spanking teaches respect. No, the parent teaches respect. You teach them respect. You teach them love. Spanking doesn't do that. And so it's a different way of thinking, but we try to channel the strengths that our parents have and allow them to build on that versus going. Spanking is the easy way to discipline.
This much is for sure. How to discipline has long been a hotbed of differing opinions. Most parents are just trying to figure out what's best.
So what is most effective then?
Hopefully someone will tell me. We just time out. Sometimes just talking. We usually try to talk it through.
I don't know any parent who says, yes, we have it completely figured out. If you'd like to look into a parenting class, they are often free at the Children's Home Society. For a schedule, go to the screen there, chsnc.org, or call the number on the screen, 553-9708.
Thank you, Shelley. And along the same lines, the Ray Rice case has brought the discussion of domestic violence to the forefront. Today, Fox 8 talked to Emmy and Golden Globe nominated actress Kerry Washington about a new campaign to bring awareness to the issue. After 420, how you can get involved in the Purple Purse campaign. Today, a medical examiner at Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center is expected to perform an autopsy on Anna Smith.
Yeah, her body was found near the Appalachian State University campus on Saturday morning. The 19-year-old from High Point was reported missing nearly 2 weeks ago. Her body was found just off campus with her driver's license and school ID card on her. Officials have not said how they believe she died and are hoping today's autopsy will provide more answers.
An infant is in the hospital after police say the baby was pistol whipped. It happened early this morning in Toledo. Police say the 6-month-old and the child's parents were pistol whipped during an armed robbery. According to Toledo News Now, the family was walking to a local carryout restaurant when 2 people walked up to them. After hitting the family, the suspects ran off with the couple's cell phones. The family is expected to be okay. Police are looking for the person who ambushed and shot 2 Pennsylvania state troopers. It happened Friday night outside of the barracks in Blooming Grove. Corporal Brian Dixon II was killed. Another officer is in the hospital and speaking. Pennsylvania State Police raised their reward to $50,000 for information that would help lead to an arrest and conviction. A newborn baby delivered after its mother was shot in the face has died. The mother was shot while standing outside in Philadelphia yesterday.
The baby was delivered in an emergency C-section after the mother died. Sabina Kirkos talked to neighbors who say they're shocked.
Like, I know her. She's a good girl, you know, and all she does is come outside, sit on her stoop, and goes back inside the house.
She was big and ready to give birth. You know, her stomach was out.
North Philly residents in shock after their pregnant neighbor is shot dead outside her home along the 1500 block of Adams. Police say the 26-year-old was full term when someone shot her in the face with a .40 caliber semi-automatic weapon just before noon.
And I can't even believe somebody would shoot a pregnant woman, you know? And in broad daylight, like, how can you not see that?
The bullet traveled down the street any number of hundreds of yards and struck the female who was sitting in a chair out front of her apartment here.
Police say the young woman was caught in the crossfire when somebody opened fire a block and a half away. Crime scene investigators marking at least a dozen spent rounds still littering the ground, a minivan riddled with holes. Police believe the intended target may be a neighbor who lives in the apartment next to the expectant mother and was running down the street away from the gunfire. He tended to the victim and is being questioned by police. Her live-in boyfriend, who was not home at the time, also speaking to detectives.
Real bad, there's a lot of blood.
We heard bang, 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 that's it.
Officers rushed the young mother to Temple Hospital where she was pronounced dead. Doctors delivered the baby through an emergency C-section. Police say the victim was watching a neighbor's 7-year-old daughter at the time. The girl was by her babysitter's side when the attack happened.
We're very fortunate that that child wasn't hit or the other people weren't hit.
We got kids out here. People live here, you know, go to work. So whatever chaos is going on in the neighborhood, know who you're after. You know, a young woman who's pregnant sitting on her stoop Sunday morning. Come on, man. You know, respectfully, come on.
Police are still searching for the suspect.
Ebola survivor Dr. Kent Brantley will testify before Congress. He's scheduled to speak at a Senate hearing on the Ebola outbreak tomorrow. Brantley was evacuated from West Africa to the U.S. after getting sick with the virus. Senators will be discussing how the U.S. can address the epidemic and how much money it should spend. According to the World Health Organization, the Ebola outbreak in West Africa has claimed more than 2,000 lives.
Secretary of State John Kerry is in Paris to try and build support for the fight against ISIS. Diplomats from 26 countries are discussing what kind of support they can give. Now, this comes as President Obama laid out his strategy last week. Officials say Middle Eastern nations are not offering much support. Now, Kerry says this is not a rush to war. The terrorist group beheaded a 3rd hostage over the weekend, an aid worker from Britain. They are believed to be holding several other hostages.
Duke Energy is planning to spend $500 million to buy solar power facilities in North Carolina. The company will buy 3 solar facilities located in Bladen, Duplin, and Wilson counties. The company says it will represent a 60% increase in the amount of solar power in North Carolina. Duke Energy says it is a move toward more renewable energy.
High Point City Council will meet at 5:30 this evening, where they could decide who will be the city's temporary mayor. It will be the council's first meeting since Mayor Bernita Sims resigned. She stepped down last Wednesday before walking into the courthouse to plead guilty to a felony worthless check charge. Mayor Pro Tem Jim Davis will assume the duties until the council picks a temporary mayor to serve until the November election. Well, she gets rashes and her face swells up so much she can't open her eyes. It's a mystery to doctors.
What one mother says about her daughter's illness and why she's speaking out. Plus, mystery solved. After 4:30, how one woman found the owner of a photo found in the debris after the 9/11 attacks.